Yes, on the left-handed piano, I find it easier to manage the keyboard.
Seine Schwester Marilyn will.
I can play better, even the melody. And I find it easier.
Der Sohn des Pianisten.
The technique is good too. Now I can learn things by heart, practice pieces much faster and more precisely, and I can perform even difficult passages better and more correctly.
I expected a great deal from the left-handers.
Do you already know this left-handed grand piano, the left-handed piano that has now been reinvented?
No, I didn't know anything about that until now.
But generally left-handed instruments. Yes, of course. What do you think of the idea if left-handed would get instruments that they actually need?
Yes, why not? It's true. That's good. Why not? Nowadays that's quite natural. People used to be ashamed of it, but now it's normal. In the past, if children wanted to be left-handed, children were forced to be right-handed. The kids had problems. As well as it is today, I think it's good. Yes.
First music publisher for left-handers Kieserloso.de, sheet music, lessons, keyboards and pianos for left-handers.
Yes, we met him at one spontaneous, at least for us spontaneous, visit to the Frankfurt Music Trade Fair, when he seemed quite frustrated. After he probably had an odyssey behind him and had spoken to various manufacturers, who didn't want the economic risk of building left-handed instruments. He's a guy who can inspire, who also inspired us for this topic and who obviously knew what he wanted. So we quickly realized that this is not about anyone who, how do you say in good Bavarian, had a crazy idea, but for whom the topic was very serious and important. And when they meet someone who takes things seriously and also with one, enthusiastically pursued and despite setbacks didn't give up until then you know that the person really means it.
How is that? Is it a big difference? Having left-handed teachers first and later?
Yes, I think it was a bit confusing at first, because you played together. Then you saw alongside that it suddenly went in the other direction, but now it doesn't really make a difference. It's actually exactly the same.
What do you think in general of the idea of left-handed people playing the piano on the left-handed piano?
I think the idea is pretty good because left-handers can play the melody with their dominant hand. That's why it's a good idea.
Do you enjoy playing?
Definitely.
Yes.
Even more than the other teachers.
These were fixed on classical and you couldn't play anything else. Here you can express your wishes.
Do you think that in the future, left-handed piano will also become more popular?
I do believe that the idea will spread rapidly over the next few years. In the United States of America, for example, there are many left-handed people. I can well imagine that these left-handed people will continue to play on a left-handed piano
there are already
in the
many
future.
left-handed instruments such as guitars. That's why I'm convinced that this idea will prevail.
In the beginning you might need a little courage because not everyone dares to buy an instrument for left-hand. It also represents a small investment, but I do think that left-handed pianos will establish themselves in the next few years.
But once the development work is done, and the investment in it has also been made, now you are able to offer pianos that go beyond all price ranges, distributed over all spectra. Our Ermler model series offers an entry point with a price segment of approximately €5,000 for an Ermler left-handed piano.
We use more precious materials in our second brand. These are the Hessler pianos. Such a piano would cost €9,500. And of course there are left-handed pianos from Blüthner, as it should be, and the first instrument has already been built. It has a selling price which is estimated at €18,500, and thus differs only slightly from them corresponding right-handed pianos.
Gisa Lozo is the inventor of the left-handed piano. The topic is not entirely new. There is already numerous musical instruments for left-handers, such as guitars. However, the development and construction of a piano for left-handers obviously much more difficult than that construction of a left-handed guitar.
I'm left-handed too, so this makes this thing certainly not easier or more difficult. When we received the order to close the concert grand bill, we were aware of the work we had to do. The most extensive field is always the creation of a new cast model for the cast plate. The other parts must of course also be changed. In principle, it is mirrored, which of course requires careful consideration. Don't forget a part. You need a new casting model and an extra mechanism. When it comes to mechanics, it is piano a bit more complicated because various mechanical parts have to be adapted for left-handers, in contrast to the concert grand piano.
We now install the piano damping and also the piano keyboard. It is called putting down. Then it is regulated, tuned, in tone, regulated again.
Now everything is reversed?
Yes, that's a little difficult. It's a matter of habit. I am right-handed.
Are you having trouble changing your mind now?
Yes, because I first handled the tool differently, I now have to get used to it again.
Yeah, that's the baby.
Wonderful.
First of all, what is a left-handed piano? Nothing special. After there are scissors for right-handed and left-handed people, which look almost indistinguishable from each other, since there have also been violins for right and left-handers, where nothing else is actually done than winding the violin strings in a different order, namely in a mirror-inverted manner. It's actually the same violin. But with the piano, the whole thing looks much more complex, because you have to play with both hands at the same time. Critics asked themselves that in the sense of Bach's fugues, both hands should actually be equally trained. That's a nice theory, but unfortunately it doesn't correspond to the anatomy and physiology of the human brain. You can only compensate for left-handedness up to a certain point through intensive training. Or right-handedness. So what is actually the right thing to do? The right thing is simply that, statistically speaking, there are just as many right-handed people as there are left-handed people. Only that marked by the historical development, by imitation effects, significantly more right-handers feel like right-handers. And left-handedness is not equally pronounced. On a scale of 0 to 10, people who are left-handed may not feel handicapped until a 5 or 6. The others can relearn relatively easily. But what do you do with the rest of the stock? Nobody wanted the frustration with the piano, especially nobody who builds pianos wanted that. Because a lot of potential would be lost, namely people who want to play music, who want to play the piano and feel handicapped, who give up playing the piano in frustration, and then maybe turn to the recorder. Of course, a piano builder wants the children to have fun making music and especially playing the piano. No question. If a child is left-handed and falls within the range of children who, being left-handed, are impaired in the dexterity of their right hands, then this would be a classic indicator where a doctor would say the indication is given. A left-handed piano must be purchased here.
The piano books that we publish are well structured, very interesting, and of course for left-handers these books are of inestimable value, because they appeal to precisely these left-handers. Of course, I hope that the whole thing will expand even more in the future. I see great potential in the future. Gesaloso has created piano books for both left and right-handers, which enable children to learn to play the piano very easily and according to their nature and talent, and thus to achieve much better results and to become great in music than was the case before.
Of course, the most important thing is the teacher. He must be able to teach left, and of course must understand the entire system. A certain development process is necessary to turn the right-hand notation into left hand in a kind of transposition. Even a piano teacher must first familiarize himself with the subject before he can say, now I teach someone the other way around. Even if it's just the left-handed sheet music for Hanschen Klein. The children must also be able to practice with it at home. And even a right-handed person must recognize a C as a C on the sheet music. We are now able to mass-produce instruments for left-handers at any time, and are prepared for it. Now we have to see what will happen after handicapped left-handed pianists find out that there are now left-handed pianos on the market. The solution to their problems was found. All those interested are cordially invited to actually try out the left-handed instruments and commit to it. It should also motivate left-handers as newcomers to take the step to the piano. We assume that this market, of course not developed overnight, but it will certainly develop gradually. Then the educators will also be challenged to take the next steps. There is certainly still work to be done to persuade. Until piano lessons for left-handers can also be offered everywhere. Even with the scissors for left-handers once started. Until it was established worldwide that left-handed people can deal with it much better, and are much more skillful than is possible with normal scissors.